Welcome to Unit 4, Project Planning for Scope, Quality, Time, and Cost Management. In Unit 4, we began to explore the project management processes in the Planning Process Group. We'll work through the process of developing a project scope and the work breakdown structure for a project that you have already evaluated and selected in Unit 3. We will also examine the project management processes for time, cost, and quality management. You will learn about different project estimating techniques used to develop project schedules and budgets. All of these elements will be a significant part of your project management plan. We begin to develop a project scope management plan using the information from the project charter as the input. The charter has been approved by the key stakeholders and allows the project manager to begin planning the project and developing a project management plan. The project manager gathers all the information needed to begin defining the scope. Project requirements are collected from the multiple sources such as the project charter, the stakeholder management plan, and the stakeholder register, and of course the requirements management plan. The inputs, tools, and techniques for collecting project requirements may vary depending on your project, but the project charter should always be one of your key input sources, as all key stakeholders have agreed to the contents of the charter. The output to this process is the requirements documentation. Here is where you describe how the individual requirements meet the business need for the project. To define the project scope, the project manager uses the output from the developed charter process, the approved charter, and the collect requirements process, which is the requirements documentation. The scope becomes a detailed description of the project and the product. The result of this project process leads to the project scope statement that always includes the product scope description, the criteria for accepting the project, the deliverables of the project, any exclusions from the project, and any constraints and assumptions. This project scope statement is a major input to the Create WBS process, which we'll look at in the next slide. The Create WBS process allows us to decompose or break down the work of the project so that it is much more manageable. The work breakdown structure is a deliverable-oriented tool that is a 100% representation of the project scope of work. It allows us to document the total scope of work, estimate project resources, time, and cost, and identify project risk and quality, and communicate and control the project work more effectively. As you can imagine, a project WBS has many benefits, but it does take time. For complex projects, there could be many stakeholder groups involved in the process. So it always helps to have someone with experience in developing a WBS to facilitate the process. The output to this process includes the project scope statement, the WBS, and the WBS dictionary, which is a document that provides detailed deliverable activity and schedule information about each component in the WBS. This process output becomes inputs to the project time management process. Planning for time management includes the processes of defining and sequencing project activities, estimating activity resources and durations for the activities, and then developing the schedule using the output from these processes. The result of these processes is a project schedule model. Once approved, this schedule model will serve as the baseline for your project to measure project performance. It is a best practice to have this initial baseline schedule model before project execution. The work we performed in planning our scope and time management are critical to developing a project budget. We begin the cost management process by first planning for managing project cost. This process is similar to the plan for scope management and plan for time management process. In the plan cost management process, we are concerned about establishing the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, managing, expending, and controlling project costs. We then need to estimate the cost of activities and resources in the estimate cost process. We use information from the cost management plan, the human resource management plan, the scope and schedule baseline, and the risk register to develop our cost estimates. There are many estimating techniques available to the project manager. from a top-down to a bottom-up method. Both methods can be used, but normally at different stages of project initiation and planning. A top-down estimate is provided at the early stages of project evaluation and selection and initiation, and more detailed or bottom-up methods are used as the planning becomes more detailed. The accuracy of estimates improves as more information becomes available. The output of this process provides us with an estimated cost of project activities and our basis of estimates. Any estimates to our project documents resulting from this estimating process should be completed at this time. I've only touched on the high points for the planning processes related to scope, time, and cost management. There's much more detail in the assigned readings. Review the Unit 4 checklist to make sure that you are completing all the work for this unit. And as always, discussion participation is optional. But with this large group of participants, there is a lot of project management knowledge and experience being shared each week. I'm sure it will be worth your time to review some of the postings and share your own experiences working with projects.